I wanted to show you how we create one-to-one emails at large scale. Basically, every single email in this list is completely individual, and we use AI on top of AI on top of AI to do it for basically a fraction of the cost. So you can see here there's about 3,000 leads. I mean, once we verified all of them, there should be about 7,000. But I just want to show you basically the steps of what this looks like. This is for a client of ours, which is a software development client. Because their offer that they run is specifically custom software development, it's very, very difficult to offer a specific fix in the initial email. So it's mainly based on pain points. So the theory of what we've done here is basically taken a list of different companies that they've had based on their previous case studies that they gave us. We put those into ChatGPT, into O1, and we essentially asked it to give us a breakdown of what those different industries were. Because there were like lots and lots of different cases, like 150 plus case studies of some of the work that they've done to compile it. And then we use that context to then start to create the prompts from here. I'll probably create a separate video at some point on how I actually do that within ChatGPT and like what we talk about and how we kind of go back and forth. But I'm going to show you sort of the end outcome of what the emails actually look like, which I thought was pretty cool. So very simple here. I mean, we pulled the list from Apollo, which is a big scrape on basically anything that's got like keywords related, plus the job titles related, company sizes, and so on in the location. So just a very generic thing. But obviously within that, even if you do a lot of filtering, there are still a lot of companies within that database that will be miscategorized for whatever reason, even if it's the keywords in the SEO description or just anything like that. So you obviously always want to filter it once you put it into Clay to basically remove any of the companies that don't fit. So we run a bit of a waterfall to start off with. So it's already got Apollo emails because we use export Apollo to export from Apollo, obviously, and we export the emails. And we've just run a conditional formula. Basically, if it doesn't have the email for export Apollo from Apollo, then we'll run Prospio, and then we'll basically merge the two. If you wanted to add an extra step, for example, we might add like Lead Magic, which is another email finder that we use. But in this case, we just put these two merged, and then we validate them with catch-all verification with Enrichly, and then put the final valid emails here. So super simple stuff there. Then we've got the next step, and this is kind of like one of the most important parts. So there's a couple different ways that we can do this. You can either scrape the website by using Zenrose or another like scraper. We just prefer Zenrose because it's pretty cheap. It's like 250,000 URLs that you can put in for, I think, like $60 a month or something. It's like ridiculously cheap. And you can scrape 250,000 websites basically with that. Another way that you can do this for really cheap is also by using Clagent. So the reason why we do this is when we export from Apollo, we have a bunch of data points in terms of like the website link and, like LinkedIn stuff and everything, but we don't have the specifics that's on the page. We don't have the data that's on the page. So we're trying to enrich this to basically understand, in this case, what does the company do, right? Like give us a summary of basically what's on the company's website. And then with that, that's how we can then categorize these businesses. And it can obviously happen for ridiculously cheap. I mean, this costs like 0.0, like it's ridiculously cheap. So for example here, we're targeting like construction companies, mining. There's like 6 different industries that we're focused on targeting for this client because they've got lots of case studies in all of these different industries. And because we wanted to build lists, we thought, well, instead of segmenting every single individual list, that's one method. The other method is actually let's pull all of it one place, use Clay to basically categorize each one, make sure it's actually a right fit, and then create emails per each individual industry and categorized segment basically. So the company summary, you can see here, for example, this is like a environmental, it'll essentially tell you like, this is what the company does, right? Based on what's on their website, right? And here, for example, again, this is the company does this, right? And I ask it to just give us a summary, and this is GPT-4o Mini, give us a summary on basically what they do, right? Because then we use that information to categorize and do everything else after that. So the way that I've structured this is in company classification, I basically ask it, and this is where I give it the massive prompt of all the previous case studies. And I say, based on this, can you please categorize these into multiple different buckets? So for this particular client, we're doing construction, mining, professional services, and there's a few others, which just for healthcare, there's a few others, but they haven't shown because I haven't run the columns just yet on this. But we also want to remove anything that doesn't fit into that, right? So we gave it, this is the criteria. These are the kinds of companies that the client has worked with in the past. These are the case studies that we have. And then now can we categorize, based on the description, can you categorize them into either bucket 1, bucket 2, bucket 3, and so on? And if it doesn't fit into any of the buckets, put it as a no fit, right? Which actually works really, really nicely, because this, having read it, and this is why you always want to do a small scale first and then obviously do the rest of them afterwards. We usually run it on like 20 or so, maybe 50. This is not the kind of company that they work with, right? So it says no fit, and it works really nicely. And then that means that the next stage will not go through, right? It won't go on to the next stage. So once we have it categorized, and once we have it basically removed any companies that don't fit the criteria, then we go on to the next step for the companies that do, and the ones that have been categorized. The next step here is basically to decipher, what does this company do, right? So from the description that we've pulled out, it's obviously a summary of all sorts of different things. They do this, they service this, they do all these different things. We want to just define, what does this company do? Because in the messaging, we're going to say, this company, like, we've worked with similar companies that do, and then basically give a description of what that company does, like that. And I'll show you the final messaging in a second as well at the end of it. Now, one tip, one hack that I found, and again, like I said before, I'll create a separate video on this, but one tip that I found is to create the prompts from ChatGPT. So use ChatGPT, tell it, this is the outcome I'm trying to achieve, help me create this prompt, and it will give you the prompt. It works so much better than you creating the prompt yourself. It just knows how to speak to itself, basically. So I would highly recommend, and again, also do a separate video on how to actually do that and what the process is that we do for using AI there. So basically give a summary of what the company does. This is like the sub-industry, because it's like the 6 different buckets with just 6 different industries, but then underneath each one, there'll be a sub-industry. And then it also gives a very quick summary on basically what they do, again, pulled from the description. And we use GPT-4o Mini for this. Now, what we do is we take that, and because it's quite a bit of information, obviously not going to fit into an email, we then take that and we just ask Claude, because anything that's copywriting related, of like the actual copy that will go in the actual email, we use Claude for that. But for analyzing, that's where we use GPT, right? And we use, I think, Sonnet. Yeah, 3.5 Sonnet for this. This will basically just take this summary section here, what the company actually does, and it will create a very short sentence, essentially, that just pull that and then just summarize it. So the reason we don't use a formula for this, because we can't just pull it, because everyone's got slightly different bit of data. So we're just creating like a very short summary, essentially, of what this company does. So what they do: concrete formwork system solutions, right? Or a tax accounting and bookkeeping, commercial construction project management, power line and electrical construction. Like, it's very specific. This is what the company does, right? Or one of the things that they do. Then this is where it gets really interesting. So you can see there's a lot of different steps of AI here. What we do is we, again, use GPT to create the prompt. And because we've given it so much context on all the information, and this is what we do, we take the onboarding intake survey and everything that the client does when they come on board, put that in for context, and then use that to build out what are the different pain points, what are the different angles that we can use. And we put all of that into a prompt here that will basically say, we're offering custom software development solutions. What kinds of pain points would a company that, does this, right? And we'll link, and I'll show you a brief snippet of the prompt here, but we'll link the industry, the company description, and then the summary bit of what they do, right? All into one place, and we'll just ask it to basically pinpoint what are three pain points that this company has. And we also ask it to do it in 10th grade language. So really, really simple. We don't want it to overcomplicate anything. We don't want technical jargon. We want it really, really simple. And it does a really, really good job here. So it has inefficient tracking of formwork inventory across multiple construction sites, lack of real-time project progress, monitoring for client updates, manual scheduling processes causing delays in formwork system deployment. It's super freaking specific to what this company actually does based on their website. Right. And we're not saying in the copy that they only do this thing, but based on, we've worked with other companies that also do something similar. Right. So it's somewhat vague in that sense. We've worked with similar-ish companies. So you can see here, it's pulling out all the pain points. Then because of the way that we've broken down the copy, I just used a formula to basically pull the section that was just pain point A, and obviously just remove capitalization and anything else, so it could work in a sentence, and then pain point B. And I'll show you why in just a sec, because in the copy we use different variables for pain point A, pain point B. And also another simple section here, which is another way to just summarize. So we took the pain points, like the 3 pain points here, and because one of the lines in the email contains like a short summarized version of what this company does, we basically are just asking Claude to take one bullet point and then just summarize it even more, so it's short and sweet and basically like 3 to 5 words essentially. Then because every single solution, so the next step, because every single solution is slightly different, and because with custom software, it's you could say like, we don't want to just say one thing, like we do this one thing, because they could actually have a need, but because it's custom, it's got to fit like lots of different criteria. So here for the second email that we're sending in the sequence, we actually use ideas. So it's basically saying, I see that you have these pain points. Have you thought about doing, this, basically? Would any of these like something that might interest you, kind of thing, right? And I'll show you. So again, develop automated data entry software for accurate financial records. Like, it's very specific to what the company does. One final one here as well. So this is the final step before I show you what the actual copy looks like. So this is just desired outcome. And again, basically what we're doing is taking all the previous steps, all the case studies, and just saying, based on this, what kind of outcome could the company experience, right? Because it's very difficult to say, like, we helped another company save this many hours or this, so on and so forth. We just basically give somewhat of a generalized but still specific to that and relevant to that industry, to that company that we're reaching out to, like a desired outcome. And I'll show you what this looks like in a second. We use AI so it wasn't working quite properly with just Claude, so I used GPT to basically just simplify it a little bit, and then we have the final output here. So I want to show you a couple of examples. So this is email 1. So I'll show you what the actual like variables and everything look like. So we spoke with a company. So initially we recently worked with, but the client wasn't too sure about using that we recently worked with, just because there were so many different companies within this list, and it was hard to be able to say that we worked with a specific company. Even though they have a lot of case studies, it wasn't always like a perfect match, so they would rather do something like this. So we spoke with a company that also does what the company does, and they mentioned they were struggling with this pain point. If we could help you fix this and get desired outcome, again, the desired outcome is specific, would you be interested in looking at some more info? So I'll show you what this looks like. I actually didn't like this example just because it says system solutions twice, so that's a small fix that I need to do. But here, so we spoke with a company that also does geotechnical engineering soil testing, super specific. They mentioned they were struggling with data management issues, super specific pinpoint. If we could help you fix and centralize data across testing sites, super specific outcome, would you be interested in looking at some more info, right? We can look at another one. We spoke to a company that also does estate litigation administration, and they mentioned they were struggling with inefficient case distribution. Super specific, super relevant. Every single email is separate, and it doesn't look terrible. If we could help you fix this and optimize lawyer workload distribution automatically, would you be interested in looking at some more info, right? So again, it's really, really specific. If you're watching on LinkedIn, by the way, I'm going to just stop the video here. I'm going to show you the rest of the other examples in a separate video, because this will be too long. But if you're on YouTube, then this is all one video. Let me show you another one. So we spoke with a company that also does building inspection and assessment, and they mentioned they were struggling with inefficient inspection scheduling. If we could help you fix this and optimize inspection scheduling and resources, would you be interested in looking at some more info, right? So again, because it's custom software, we cannot say like, we'll just help you do this, because they may not be looking for that as a solution, but they don't know that they have a certain pain point, right? So we're just trying to get bites on this thing, right? So that's the premise of it, right? And you can see another example. We spoke with a company that also does tax accounting and bookkeeping, and they mentioned they were struggling with manual data entry errors. If we could help you fix this and automate data entry and reduce errors, would you be interested in looking at some more info? So in my opinion, I think it's really, really hyper specific. Even when we showed the client, they were like, wow, I didn't realize AI could do this. It's pretty damn specific. But here's another example. This is email B, and I'll just show you what the actual like email looks like. So companies that offer, and then what the company does, services often struggle with, and then we name a pain point. Would you be interested in us building you a free prototype that could fix those issues? So again, we're just relating it back to the pain point. So again, let's just have a look here. Maybe I'll show you some ones from like down here that I haven't shown so far. So companies that offer commercial construction project management services often struggle with lack of integrated systems. So that's the only thing that I would change. I would put an S in there. So again, small little tweaks, but overall, I think it's like it's pretty solid. For design management, cost planning, would you be interested in us building you a free prototype that could fix those issues? Apply with yes. See another one here. Companies that offer criminal law services. Again, this is what they do section with manual case management, slowing down often struggle with manual case management, slowing down client service and response times. Again, super specific pain point. Would you be interested in us building a prototype? Da, 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 da. Then email C, we went with a slightly different angle. We basically list their pain points. So we've spoken with other companies that also do concrete formwork system solutions. They mentioned they're facing these pain points, and then we bam, here's a bunch of pain points that you could be facing. And again, each one is very specific and individual to what they do. Are you struggling with any of these? Right? Kind of broad, open-ended type of thing. And let's look at another example. We've spoken with other companies that also do power line and electrical construction. They mentioned they're facing these pain points here, right? So that's emails 1A, B, and C that we use. So we're testing 3 different angles for across all of these different campaigns just to see which one is going to resonate more. Obviously, it's a little bit more tricky with like testing in this because everything is different. But at least here we can kind of get a sense of, do people respond more with like angle this or email A or B and so on. And then, like I said here, email 2 is basically just taking the ideas and presenting them with a few ideas. So you might be struggling with, and then we have, let me show you the actual variables in email here. You might be struggling with, and then pain point, right? Pain point B here. Here's a few potential ideas that can help you solve them, and then here's the solution ideas. So again, let's have a look here. You might be struggling with manual reporting processes. So the reason why we did A and B and broke it down is because in the first emails we're using pain point A or simplified, and then in email 2 we're using pain point B, so that it's not the same basically, or at least there's a differentiator basically between the two. You might be struggling with manual reporting processes, slowing down delivery of test results. Again, manual reporting process, slow down delivery of test results. Yeah, so something like that. We probably would need like slowing down. So again, tiny tweak there, but just another example of some small changes we made. So here's a few potential ideas: create centralized database for managing multi-site test data, develop automated reporting system for faster results delivery, build integrated app for field testing and lab analysis. So again, really specific. I'll look here. Oh, this one hasn't been run yet. Yeah, you might be struggling with manual scheduling of equipment hire, leading to underutilization. Here's a few potential ideas that can help you solve them. And then again, ideas: develop more than one project management app for multiple sites, create automated equipment scheduling and tracking software. So you get the point here. So this is basically how we've been able to use AI on AI to save us basically hours of manual research, hours of data enrichment, and hours of basically writing all of these different things out for every single one of these companies for a fraction of the cost of it and a fraction of the time of it. Because now that it's done, 420, and this took a little bit of time to obviously do and perfect and everything, there's still a couple tweaks to be made. But now that that's done, this can then be run across 3,000 rows. And the way I would do it is I would run this again across 100, and then I would quality check the 100 that it's been run across. Once we've quality checked the 100, and we have like a 90, let's just say a 95% rate of like decent results, then I think it's safe to run across everything else. You're not going to get everything perfect. There are going to be small mistakes here and there, small errors. Obviously, you can work on improving those over time, but all in all, you want to look to like a pretty decent level of accuracy in this. And then that's when you scale it out and you run it across everything else. So you get the messaging right across small areas and make sure that it's valuable to the end prospect and it's relevant to the end prospect, which we're doing. We're telling them, we're giving them an idea that we've done some research on you and we understand your pain points and we're understanding the solution that we can potentially provide to you that's relevant to you. And then we're sending them that email. So this is how we're structuring and how we're thinking about using Clay in 2024 and moving into 2025, and how we use AI to basically craft very specific and relevant one-to-one emails that don't look like they're written by AI. And it takes quite a lot of tweaking, quite a lot of work to get to this point. But it's actually, once you understand how to do this, it's actually not that difficult. And there's a bit of a process involved. So if you're interested in doing that, and obviously feel free to book in a call and we can run you through and chat through how this might actually work for you. If you want to do something like this, and we help you out with automating, building Clay tables and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, well, other than that, thanks for watching. Any questions, let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.